Do you read Sutter Kane? I wish I did. Not because I want the side effects from the movie, but I wish the books existed. How can you watch this movie and not want to read the books? Seriously. This movie, God, they should have just put out books for the movie. If it was more popular, we probably would have gotten it. Because, man, this is just selling those books so hard for me to want to read. I want to read every one of them. And God, I would desperately want those books. Anyway, In the Mouth of Madness. I really wish that this Blu-ray existed, but like a special edition one. I know that they have a Blu-ray, but I refuse to double dip. So I've always been waiting for them to put out like a Scream Factory, Arrow, and I always feel like the week I buy it, they'll be like, we're putting out In the Mouth of Madness, and I'll be like, fuck off. But I'm willing to pay that $20 for them to then announce it a week later, man. I would be willing to do that. I want to give a shout out to CJ out in Australia, man. I didn't forget about you, okay? You make me laugh, and I really appreciate you and your support. You are seriously one of my diehards. You watch fucking everything I put out. I can't even believe it. Who the hell wants to listen to me that much? You, I guess. Which is fantastic. That's the whole point of this. God, I just love the title of this movie. I love everything about this film. There's like no flaws to it for me. But how much of that is a nostalgia thing? If I watched it now for the first time, would I love it as much? Probably not, but that's true of any film you grew up on. You're going to see more flaws in something with fresh eyes and something you've never seen and something you've grown up watching. So there are some things here that I'm sure if this was my first viewing, I'd be like, that could have been better, but watching it with the nostalgia filter that I have on, I don't see shit. So let's get into the film. This is the last film in the Apocalypse trilogy, which, as I said, with my newfound appreciation with Prince of Darkness, this is one fantastic trilogy. Holy shit, man. The Thing and these two, whew, that's a solid one. I love the opening song of this movie. It just gets me pumped for this film. Anytime it starts up, I'm just like rocking. I don't know, like besides maybe Halloween, it might be my favorite opening song for a Carpenter film. It just gets me so ready for the film, gets my blood pumping. John Glover looks nuts in this, like even more than Trent does when he's brought in. But like when he brings him in, Glover plays this part so well. It's like the nut running the loony bin. I love the way he looks. And Sam Neill, who plays Trent in this movie, one of my, like, I love when he walks up to the window and he just is like, I'm not insane. I don't know, it just, the tone of this film is set right from the get-go, and it just starts eerie, and then it, kind of progresses into a more natural, neutral state for a moment, bringing you back to like reality, and then building itself back up to that finale, which is, started super eerie, so then it just kind of had to build that eeriness throughout to get back to that first scene, and I just think it was executed perfectly. The atmosphere building here is excellent. Just has a smooth pace all the way up to the top. And the whole little reference to the Carpenters, I laugh every time at that. One thing I do have to roll my eyes at a little bit in this is when the guy comes and he's asking, like, did he have any requests? And he's like, yes, a single black crayon. And it's like, a single black crayon colored the entire room and his clothes and his skin, and when they show it, the crayon's still like this long. Now, granted, if they gave him a crayon that was bigger than my screen, like bigger than that, then maybe, but it was probably this big, and it was only like this much used. It was like still like this big when he had it in his hand, so I'm calling it a little bit of bullshit there, but hey, he lives in a fictional reality. I guess it doesn't have to be all that realistic, does it? Another Peter Jason role here. You know, as I said, he's just in next, which is great. I love him here. I love him as the swindling guy who's trying to take the insurance claim place for all the money and burned his own stuff and fucked around on his wife. It's a great introduction to Trent's character and how he can see through all the angles and calls bullshit on everything and is a pro at it. And it actually ends up, you know, he actually enjoys it. We even find out later in the film that he doesn't even have any problem going after his friends. Like, if they do something wrong, he's taking them down. So this guy is no nonsense, no bullshit kind of guy, and he can see through it all. And he's the skeptic till the end, for real. He's the character that I would be. I've talked about this in the past with lots of films where I'm just like, I love that scene at the end when he's talking to Sutter Kane and he says, you know, even now you're trying to rationalize. Like, that's me. That is me. I'm sitting there like, there's somehow this is special effects and you're fucking gagging me, and I never want to be that stupid guy who fell for it, like, we got you, and I'd be like, well, that was elaborate. Come on, you have to admit that you had to do a lot to convince me. But man, I don't think I'd ever get into it. As I always say, like, I could be getting eaten by a werewolf or a monster and all I'd be doing the whole time outside of screaming is looking for the zipper. Because I am a skeptic till the end, and I always love characters like this, even though in certain movies they can be very annoying. But Sam Neill's John Trent is never annoying and is amazing. And he has such great dialogue too. Like, you know, I love the scene where he gets attacked by the axe. Like, I like his character so much. Like, he gets attacked by the guy, comes through the window with the axe, gets up on the table. Did you read Sutter Kane? He's got like the double irises, and then, you know, he's about to get killed. Cops shoot him dead, and he looks over at the, you know, the dude from the insurance company, and he's just like, he's stunned, but he laughs. Like, he's and he does it later in the film too. Like when I love that scene too, when he's in the time loop where it's like he keeps trying to drive out of town this way, that way, goes there every way he can, and every time it just keeps bringing him back. And the last time he just laughs. Like, I don't know, there's something about that. And another thing that I picked up from him is the word cute. I never used that before this movie, but when something is, you know, clever in a silly way or whatever, I say the word cute, and I have ever since I saw this film. But as I said, I really like his dialogue here, especially some of the humor. Come on, you old bitch. Like, I love that shit. But when he's talking to Harlow, Charlton Heston, he's like, you know, he tells him that the guy in the, you know, with the axe was Kane's agent. And he's like, that lunatic with the axe is Kane's agent? You think a guy that could outsell Stephen King could find better representation? I don't know why that scene has always made me laugh so hard, but like the lunatic with the axe thing just gets me every single time. I find it odd, though, that when Stiles is trying to convince Trent to read the book, she's like, you know, maybe you should try him out, see if you can get it. And he says, you got any on tape? She, like, the door is closed and she turns around and she goes, like that. And it's like, you don't already have audiobooks of Sutter Kane's work? This is the most popular author in the world. Has been translated into 18 languages. More people believe in his work than believe in the Bible, but you're telling me you don't have audiobooks yet? I don't know. Maybe they do. But her reaction suggests that they don't, and that she's never even considered it. She was like, that's a good idea. I don't know why. It's so subtle. It's so stupid. But I just, every time I see it, I'm like, why are you thinking about this? You clearly have to have those, right? Audiobooks were a big thing in the mid-90s, so you're telling me you don't have them. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's probably nothing, but I always notice it. This is what happens when you watch films a million times. You start to not only overanalyze, but you start to notice literally every single little quirk and tick and start thinking like, well, does that mean something? And should this and that? That's the fun of it, right? That's the fun. That's. I'm talking to people who have seen this movie 1,000 times. I'm hoping that if you're watching this, that you've seen it once at least, but that you're a fan like me and you've seen it 100 times, and you'll also be like, yeah, I've noticed that too. Or, wow, get a fucking life and move out of your mom's basement that I don't live in, by the way, people. I don't live in my mom's fucking basement. I've seen that in like 6 fucking comments over, this is my house. I think I've defended that twice now, so now you're sitting there thinking, maybe this is his mom's basement. I don't even like my mother. Yeah, I mean, Trent's not a pessimist. He's a realist. He's one of those guys who's like, I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being realistic. Another place that we are the same. But yeah, he's just always looking for that angle. He's he reminds me of John Cusack's character in 1408. These characters, I always can relate to them. When he goes into the bookstore, he can see you. He's like, good, tell him I said hi. Like, I just love how no bullshit, he's not getting scared, he's not falling for it, he's above it all. Everyone to him is just, something to laugh off. God, he's great. I can't say enough about Trent. I'm going to try to stop gushing about him, but why? I've been waiting for this review this entire time, so my turn to gush. I'm not usually a huge fan of dreams in movies, like when the guy wakes, and then especially like a dream within a dream. Trent wakes up and he's on the couch and he's like, oh, and then the cop's there again and he wakes up again. But for some reason, because I love this movie so much, and I actually really like that scene. I like how he like comes out of it the second time and looks at the book and throws it. No, I don't. That scene doesn't bother me as much. The whole, symbolism or message or whatever the hell, the whole like him getting ink on his fingers and then rubbing it under his eyes, that really doesn't play into the film at all or anything. It's just kind of a quirky little thing that's in there. I don't know if it's supposed to make him look mad once he figures out that the book covers have a map drawn into them and they can cut them out and put it together, the pieces, which is a great little plot device. I love that. It hurts my heart to watch him rip up those books, though, because I want them so badly. But I always did like that. Another line that for some reason I've always laughed at and I've quoted a million times every time I drive with somebody new, I pretty much have to say it, and they always look at me like, who the fuck are you and why am I driving with you? Can you pull over and let me out? Is never, never, never throw chips at a driver. And they're like, I haven't even thrown chips at you. And I'm like, it's from In the Mouth of Madness. Come on, get out of my car. Why are you in here? Random hitchhiker I picked up to kill in my mom's basement. Yeah, I mean, and I think another thing that I really like about this movie is, when I watch horror movies, or any movies, for instance, but especially horror movies, and it's something I've talked about on the channel a lot, is I always try to put myself in the shoes of what's happening. Like, as I don't get scared during movies, but I do try to put myself in the scenarios in which they're in, no matter what it is, and then give my opinion from that standpoint of like, would this terrify me if I was in this scenario? The way that it's being presented to me. If reality shared their point of view, and that's what Styles is saying to John, like, what scares me is if reality shared Sutter Kane's point of view. And he's like, whoa, 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 this is not reality. Whatever. So, I like that idea that reality is being manipulated within the film. And that later in the film, we're even shown that this is the film that was filmed in that, and you're watching the film that's supposed to drive everyone mad, and you're sitting in the theater like, almost like, oh, like, what the fuck? This is the movie? Like, that's Sam Neill's character? Like, that's John Trent? And it even says, like, directed by John Carpenter and everything. Like, it's total meta stuff, and it works very, very well for the film. It goes along with the whole story, and it kind of comes full circle on itself, and that's what makes it great. The bike kid is so creepy. Like he rides by the first time he's a kid. Then the next time he's like an old man coming in the opposite direction. And then they hit him and he gets up and he's like, he won't let me out. And it's like they're suggesting that the kid's just been circling for like 50 years trying to get out. And he finally gets hit. And then he's like, he's in this perpetual cycle that he cannot break. He's just riding his bike forever in an endless loop. And that's, God, just fucks with my brain to think of. I find it odd that Trent doesn't question the fact that Stiles seemed to find Hobbs End while he was sleeping. He does question once they find, the hotel at Hobbs End. But when he wakes up, he's like, Stiles, you're fantastic. Like, you found it. And like, I don't know, I feel like because of how untrusting in nature he is and how he's always looking for an angle and throughout the entire film, that the fact that Stiles happened to find the town right in the moment as he woke up and was sitting there and looked back, I don't know, that all seems suspect to me. And I'm not even, as, or I don't know, like, untrusting of the scenario at the moment as he was. So I don't know, that's always been a weird thing for me. I'm like, he should be like, okay, what, you found this place while I was sleeping? What a coincidence. And this goes back to things I've said a million times here. I fucking love movies where they get to a town and no one's around. I mean, they get into Main Street, USA, it's picture perfect and no one's around, as he says, and I just love that. There's nothing, like, everything's there, everything's how it should be, there's no sign of a struggle, there's no sign of an evacuation, there's no sign of anything. It's just everyone's missing. There's something so creepy about that to me, and this movie has it. This movie has it all. Trent read all 6 books. How quick, man. Is this guy a speed reader? I don't know how long it was from, the beginning of him taking the job till him and Stiles went on the road together. But when he gets there and they're talking about it, he's like, I read the books too. And he's like, oh yeah, this is Miss Pickman from the Hobbs End Horror and whatever. And he's like he's like talking to her and, oh, if this was a real story, there'd be a, black Byzantine church right out this window, and it's like, not only he read them so fast, but he retained all of it. That's incredible. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I was just like, I think it's almost like a testament to his character that he's so smart and able to retain all that information and read the book so quickly. But I've always noticed that when I read it, I was like, damn, you read all 6 books? Like, they look like thick books. I feel like that would take me months. And I love to see the villain from Ghostbusters 2 in here is that dude who is coming for his kid at the church. The makeup and the creature effects in this movie are great. When he has the chunk taken out of his face and the kids, what day is it? It's Mummy's Day. That kid's fucking creepy. That makeup is nuts on the kid's face. One of my only complaints about the movie for sure is that I really wish we could have seen more of those monsters that are crawling down the hall, that long tunnel that Trent's running down. Like, we get to see them for such a short amount of time. And I know I've read that was like a wall of puppetry and there was like a bunch of dudes behind it and it looked like such an impressive thing. We only see it for seconds. I feel like the people, Greg Nicotero and the guys that worked on this, I feel like they would be devastated after watching this movie, being like, they only put them in there for fucking 5 seconds. You know how long we worked on? Not even 5 seconds, 2 seconds. You know how long we worked on those damn things? But I don't know, maybe if we would have saw it longer, it would have looked cheap. So Carpenter knew that this is the only way we can show it with it. I'll frame it right and I'll do it for the right amount of time and you'll just get a glimpse and, that's all you need. Which is fine, but I don't know. Because of how much talk there is of people turning into creatures and the fact that we get to see those creatures for a minute, I really wish we had seen them more. I mean, yes, you get them out in Miss Pinkman's greenhouse or out, whatever the hell that thing is. He's in the thing. He has like no hands. He's flipping his arms and whatnot. But there's just not enough creature in this movie. I really wish there was a little bit more. But that's just me loving practical creature effects. So I don't know. The film is fantastic as it is. I guess I just wish I could have seen a little bit more of them, but not a complaint. And I love when Stiles keeps telling him when she comes back from Sutter that she's losing her. So she's like, I'm losing me. I'm losing me. There's something about that line that is always stuck with me. Like, that's terrifying to me, to be losing yourself. Like, she doesn't want to lose herself. She wants so desperately to cling on to what she is and who she is. And, she didn't come there to do this. But she's a fictional character, as he is, so she doesn't even have any control over this. But they seem to have some level of consciousness. Now, if he wrote him that way, and that's just kind of the debate of this, like, does Trent have any free will at all? Is he like in an open world type, area that he can kind of think, and then events are manipulated around him through Kane's work? Or is, Kane says, you didn't exist before I created you. Which kind of reminds me of like Dark City, and it's always made me think of like, what proof do I have that I existed before 5 seconds ago, 1 second ago? I don't even know if I started recording this video up until right this second, right in this moment, because the only thing that tells me that I do, the only proof I have is my memory. And you could have just started me right here, right now, and I would think that I lived all like 5 years of my life before this. It could have just started 1 second ago, and that's kind of something that this movie also, makes me think about when it comes to his character. Like, does he have any free will? Was he created at the beginning of this film? Did he not exist before the opening of this movie? I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting to think about, and I love those questions that get posed here because it makes me think like crazy. I love when Stiles comes up and punches him, and then he just doesn't even hesitate, knocks her out, throws him over his shoulder, puts her in the car. He's looking for the keys. She goes to put them in his mouth, and the way he reacts, like, Jesus! Like, he's losing it. It's like, what in the fuck is going on around me? Everyone needs to just stop. And when she gets out of the car and her head's backwards and she's like crawling on her stuff, great stuff. Great stuff. All the crunches and whatnot of her joints. And when he tells Sutter Kane that his books suck, which it's right there in that moment that makes you wonder. Like, Sutter Kane says that he's God now, and that he's the one controlling it because he's writing it. Did you ever notice, did I ever tell you my favorite color is blue? And he wakes up and everything's blue. So he is dictating it to some degree. But he's saying that the monsters are the ones that are telling him to write it. So when Trent is telling him his books suck, and there's this light that like flashes really bright, like Kane got angry, or the monsters got angry, or whatever, that either suggests that Kane wrote it that way to then piss off the monsters or himself, or that, Trent has some free will and he can speak for himself and actually agitate his creator. So I don't know to what level he has free will or not any. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm super curious on your guys' thoughts on that for sure. And I think that's it. Shit. I went through all my notes. All right. Well, In the Mouth of Madness. I've been waiting for this since we started this damn journey together. Now the descent begins. From here on, it's kind of a downward spiral. Hopefully I like these next movies more than I did originally. The next one's okay. I hope I like it a lot more. But anyway, it's time for me to go watch that right now. Guys, as always, thank you if you stayed through this whole thing. And CJ, Stay warm, buddy.